you can actually counter a Loki God of Mischief ultimate as a Winter Soldier is just using the 7-second reset timer and using his clone copies to outlast the ultimate from the other side.
All right, so Nost going to be the one picking up the Loki. I assume that we're likely going to see Closer pick up maybe the Cloak and Dagger here for a double Eternal Bond after, of course, giving out those armor packs in Spawn on the Rocket Raccoon. Could be very poke heavy here from what we've seen hovered by the side of All Business. A Hela and a Punisher certainly would be absolute hell for a Vanguard to try and play into if it didn't have a reliable shield option.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about reliable shields, All Business are definitely going to be trying to shield Tuzi. However, Zero Tenacity doing a very good job of taking away a lot of the resources that either a Hela or Human Torch could try and find value from playing on those isolated off angles. It is going to be Burn into T'Challa that we head to for our first round of domination. All Business with the Captain America that we have come to expect. Zero Tenacity not going to be rolling out on the triple Dunas lineup this time around. It's going to be triple strategist instead, with Smashnez on the Torch and Lugia, not on the Wolverine, on the Strange, looking to immediately propel the team onto points so Smashnez can already start getting the poke down before Slowpoke gets any space for this Iron Man to set up.
Yeah, just trying to make sure that Slowpoke can't find any angles to work with here. And of course, as Smashnez starts to really move into that zone of influence, you have to worry about the beam, and so backs off rather quickly. Lugia did actually commit to it, though, so he's a little bit further out than the rest of their team. Gets grabbed by the Carbon Crush. Lugia may have been slightly baited there by smashing. Yeah, we're going to roll down this Iron Man. Nah, bro, I'm leaving. I'm out of there.
Yeah, Armor Overdrive just means that All Business have so much control of that tempo. There's going to be a regeneration domain invested as well from the side of All Business to just better anchor their position on that point, but Toot still falls to the damage coming on through from that Torch, and Oasis has already been able to build up the Soul Resurgence. Eternal Bond comes out in the form of God of Mischief from Znost, so that All Business can try and answer back with sustainability of their own.
Great output there from Znost, and well, Tuzi's feeling nice and comfy in the Eternal Bond, drags out their own final judgment, and the damage might be too much to bear. Oh, they caught Oasis where they did not want to be seen, and while the Soul Bond does not sustain for long, out comes the infinite pulse cannon, and well, it seems everyone else is invincible in the face of it. Knutson going to be able to resurrect themselves back into the fight using that cocooned revival, and Znost is pushed out of their own play right there. Tried to use the regeneration domain to keep themselves sustained. Two is still an absolute menace on the point in the midst of all of this, beating the Sorcerer Supreme towards oblivion. Welshmania, who's more powerful, the Sorcerer Supreme, Master of the Mystic Arcs, or one guy from Wales with a shield? It seems like in this case maybe the Master of the Mystic Arts is going to get a fast one over on them as Smashnez ducks into cover, and Zero Tenacity are going to flip the point.
Yeah, Zero Tenacity picking up that point before it hits the halfway break point as well. They've got Comic Revival too, so they can try and force All Business into burning some of those ultimates, then come out with the Comic Revival and have everyone pop back up with the better ultimate economy afterwards, especially because All Business aren't running heroes that are very good at chase down with pick potential. They've got the Captain America, but he doesn't have the pick potential of something like that Psylocke, as it is going to be Knuten just poking away, chipping down some of these players from All Business too. Does have Psionic Seduction. It's going to be used to break through that choke, but Tuzi gets picked by the poke from the Atom, and Soul Resurgence after the Emerald ultimate is going to come out from front of Zero Tenacity into the Eye of Agamotto that Lugia had set up to catch on the disengage.
Imagine to grab Slowpoke before we can disengage. Knuten was playing that so aggressively, by the way. If he had not managed to descend that staircase in time, was going to get mind controlled and destroyed, but gets a nice little tap onto Tuzi.
I mean, Knuten is a duelist by nature, and he is going to be playing incredibly aggressively, especially because he will have that cocoon coming back online in this fight. If he goes down early, he will still be able to resurrect. However, we can see from his position, he's setting up the Comic Revival instead. Xenos has already burned the God of Mischief. Smashnez with the Supernova slows down All Business's approach. And Zero Tenacity, they were hoping to play off of the Atom ultimate, but no picks have actually come on through. So Comic Revival's been abandoned.
You've got to be so careful about their positioning as well to make sure that they are inside of the LOS. Knuten doesn't get to use it in the end. Might be able to self-resurrect here using the Cocooned Revival, but might prove too dangerous. Oh, wait, he's going for it. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the case, bro, in the 1v6.
I mean, the Comic Revival could potentially have worked. Unfortunately, the wall that he tries to use as cover is breakable and gets broken immediately alongside that Adam. As it is now going to be all business picking up that point. Psionic Seduction can be used in tandem with the maximum pulse cannon coming on through from Slowpoke. So that Zero Tenacity can't shield it, as they do have two forms of cover in the Strange and the Amber. There's the Psionic Seduction, answered back by the Soul Resurgence, and there it is! But the Iron Man doesn't find anything!
Trying to pick a fight with Protons, but Z10 right now are feeling antimatter-esque. 2-2, waiting for their moment to try and go on in with the Eye of Agamotto, as Ducky just plays the periphery here. Might be able to grab 2-2 before he can use his ultimate. Oh, it's a perfect pickoff. There are no options for Resurrection. The front line is disintegrated, but 2-2 will at least be able to TP back.
Snost is going to have a God of Mischief in this fight as well, but Zero Tenacity, look at how much more aggressive they're getting. They read that all business are likely going to go for a teleport play, and they barge right into spawn. No space. Toot does get the portal off, but he gets force physics shoved away from it.
It didn't throw a portal onto point. Oh, still the commute seems to work out in this case. There's going to be a last-second play. Two players stunned up by the counter Eye of Agamotto. Smashnez on the other side gets soul separated from body, but the follow-up isn't there. The invisible boundary was used to peel for the hero himself. And it's a map set aflame in favor of Zero Tenacity, as all business can't quite get the delivery they wanted. They missed substantially.
Yeah, no one's going to be able to tap point in time. Zero Tenacity doing a very good job. The Eye of Agamotto punishing the fact that all business, like you said, had to actually commute. They had to walk because of that portal. It got placed, panicked, because they read that Zero Tenacity were pushing into spawn. They didn't want it to get cancelled out, because that portal cooldown gets burned the second that you hit the button. You can't cancel it and save the cooldown. You have to use it regardless. So it gets used, and immediately they know that Luger is going to be able to get a gargantuan Eye of Agamotto, which is potentially going to get counterplayed by the Final Judgment with its CC immunity. So out comes Invis Boundary, and the Strange is just healed through the entire duration of the Punisher ultimate, which allows Zero Tenacity to find the last picks necessary.
Great fight planning there from Zero Tenacity. Took almost everything they had, though. They might be under-prepared for this first fight, as we're likely to see Znost instantly roll out with an Eternal Bond from Clozar, and then likely control the point after that. Zero Tenacity probably going to have to play retake in this case, or at least get themselves onto the point and force those resources early.
Knudsen does have Karmic Revival.
True.
But if all business overinvest in ultimates at the early stages to guarantee that they pick up early point percentage, Knudsen gets to come back in when those ultimates are gone, and Zero Tenacity still have power.
Okay, Soul Bond exchanged here for the Eternal Bond itself coming through from Znost. Things for all business. They can continue to try and play this one out. They're going to roll on forward here with the Soul Resurgence. It's so aggressive. Still, close against stunned out Vero. Unbelievable play. I'm not sure who was responsible for that one. In this case, it might well have been a sleep coming through from Oasis. It must have been maybe grabbed by Ducky. One of those players managed to just absolutely clutch up this fight. Zero Tenacity, what a play, knowing that Clozar was going to try and answer their Soul Resurgence.
Yeah, really big plays coming on through from Zero Tenacity. No Karmic Revival necessary as well. Soul Resurgence was used so that they could get aggressive before all business could set up angles with this Ultron and try and tip the tide of damage burst potential. And now all business are stuck within choke. They can't answer back to Smashnez on the torch until they commit deep around that corner. And Smashnez is getting all of the peel. And in comparison, Toot is taking all of the damage.
Yeah, Tuzi gets grabbed out of the air. Great play there by Ducky One themselves. Welshmania forced to flee away back to the hills, and all business, they're gonna have to cook again.
Zero Tenacity just doing such a good job of reading the composition all business have. Flying units need space, need cover to be able to play around with. If you play close, they don't get either of that. As it's going to be Welshmania coming on through, opening things up with the Living Legends, finally allowing Toot to find the pick onto Lugia, but he's so close to Eye of Agamotto that Knudsen is actually going to commit the Karmic Revival just to bring the Strange back.
Roger Resurrection right there. Trying to get rid of this Loki, of course, in the Eternal Bond. Things start to get a little bit hotter. Big stun coming through onto Tuzi. The target focus isn't quite there, and even with the attention to detail given over by the Sonic Seduction, it feels that Newton's going to be the first to fall, and Sloppo lays down so much damage from the rage of Ultron. Smashnez and Tuzi are forced into this aerial door as Toot tries to find any damage off the back of his fully charged beam. It's a messy fight here, but Zero Tenacity seem to be on top of it, trying to chase down Knudsen. You better believe they're going to find him. He doesn't need no resurrection, though. The rest of his team has got this.
Yeah, that soul bond from Knudsen was absolutely clutch. Zero Tenacity held the point the entire time too. All Business are going to have a strange teleport in the form of 2 to try and touch, and they do have Supernova as well as God of Mischief to try and copy one of these strategist ultimates and give themselves sustainability on the point. Zero Tenacity, though, going to try and look for an early pick.
All right, Eternal Bond to try and make sure that everyone's got all the staying power that they need. Up in the air, though, Lugia going to have to try and descend down. Ducky's already got one. And Invisible Woman pick off as well. All Business is falling apart. It's crumbled to ash in their hands. Close to 30% away still from the Eternal Bond. And, well, it's just easy living for Smashness right now. Bro's on an all-expenses-paid trip to the skies, raining down fire from above. You better believe that Factor 50 had to be applied from All Business before they got into a match today. Tuesday's going to be chased on down. Comes the health back on their way out. What a second. Stoppo's managed to find one on the back end. Lugia go now with the Eye of Agamotto in the back pocket, but no health to try and make it work. What a clutch from All Business.
And crucially, no Eternal Bond invested. They're going to have the CC immunity of that as well as the healing to try and live through either the Eye of Agamotto, the Psionic Seduction, or the Supernovas. Zero Tenacity have a wealth of ultimates that can swing this last fight that they need to pick up that one missing percent. And All Business, their hand is going to be forced. They need a pick to come through early, and they're just not getting the angles to do so. It's a longer wraparound rotation. Zero Tenacity sacrificing point percentage with the safety of cover to challenge to get Ducky one close enough on this high ground angle to use the Psionic Seduction right into the back line. There's nothing closer can do. The Cloak and Dagger gets silenced before Eternal Bond.
Eternal Bond not going to be seen today. And now Zero Tenacity, they are piling on the pressure. Both Soul Bond and Soul Resurgence. The Souls, they are resurging. And so too are the Zero Tenacity duelists. It's going to be a self-resurrection from Knudsen as he brings himself back into business. And well, All Business, they've got no business touching right now. There's no portal. It's going to be the attempt from Tutu. Yes, the Eternal Bond just about hits, and it hits just right for that sustainability. Oh, the focus fire onto Closer, though, never stood a chance, even with all the healing. Burning T'Challa goes soundly the way of Z10.
What plays from Zero Tenacity. They knew that that Cloak and Dagger, that Eternal Bond, had to be shut down, that they would not have pick potential with any of their ultimates when it came into play. So they sent their Emma all the way around the back to guarantee if there's one target that gets hit by the Psionic Seduction, it's the Cloak and Dagger. No Eternal Bond, entirely divorced from the fight. And All Business, we talked about it, it's going to be a matter.
They're putting all of their eggs in that basket. I thought maybe they go and try and ban Tuzi away from the Human Torch when they knew that that team-up was going to be on the field from the Invisible Woman due to the first protect coming through from All Business. Overall, though, seems like we're finally going to see Lugia Goat's Wolverine make an appearance. This is the triple duelist that we were hyping up coming into this game before Lugia so rudely decided to play their actual role.
Yggdrasil Path is definitely going to be one to watch, especially because it's a very snowball-heavy composition. A lot of the time, we actually even just see things like the Wolverine quite literally being thrown into the attacker's side so that they can just immediately break that first corner and force the defending team all the way back, otherwise you will be at a stalemate. But around about a minute before some of those ultimates or a potential magic pick comes into play. But given the fact that we're not really seeing heroes who can quantify those magic picks, there's no Hawkeye, there's no Hela, it's more than likely that we're going to be seeing something just try and pressure these defenders back, as we do have to talk about the fact that on that defense, that is a Squirrel Girl. Smashness is going to be playing Doreen.
The Squirrel Girl, well, who am I to doubt the accuracy? Doesn't have many easy targets like a Groot, a Magneto, or a Doctor Strange to kind of pelt down. You've got two fairly thin vanguards in the form of the hypermobile Captain America and the Emma Frost, but maybe the rooting Acorn could actually be a little bit of secret tech against the Captain America.
Yeah, they do have multiple facets to be able to deal with Welshmania, who you can see the health is getting lower and lower and lower, and Lugia is going to be one of them. Welshmania grabbed up by the Feral Lunge, deposited in the middle of Zero Tenacity's team, and there is no peel that All Business can find to save the Captain America, and with that one pick, everyone from the attacker side take a big step backwards.
Yeah, Ducky1 playing a solo Vanguard Emma is fairly risky. That was a very ambitious attempt at a grab there onto 2Z. Does force out the slam towards the ground. Lugia does manage to get out in their own right as well, but has lost their passive. You can tell from the lack of cross next to their nameplate at a glance, as Welshmania takes a lot of aggro in the back. Ducky overwhelmed even with the invisible boundary. The damage from 2-2 kicking him into a wall was far too much to deal with. Out comes the invincible, the unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami, pardon me. Wrong adjective for the Squirrels. I'm sure maybe Tipito will be able to forgive me by the end of this.
Knuten fights the pick until Welshmania, and that Squirrel Tsunami might not have been beaten, but it did create enough space for Zero Tenacity to gracefully disengage, at least until now. Eternal Bond packaged with Final Judgment is going to be the final play all business need to pick their way through A.
Yeah, a bit of a strategist differential right there. Sloppo was able to just sit in the middle of it and get as much healing as they liked, and of course did already have the tracer rounds in. They are trying for
trying.
We're on the other side. We need to get back on this. Here we go. We're back in the game, baby. Sending the fire cyclone into the enemy spawn. 2's getting a little bit creative with it as the portal comes on out, and it's yet another massacre in favor of all business as knockouts are delivered and Zero Tenacity is sent back to a much further away spawn.
Yeah, and this is now going to be really awkward for Zero Tenacity. A lot of the time, actually, we see teams, especially against Flyers, just step away from that original contest of A so they can have a better setup into B, as now they risk getting locked into these enclosed choke spaces. It's actually going to be Knuten swapping over to the Iron Man to deny those plays. Comes on through with the armor overdrive, buys all of the space for Zero Tenacity to just come right back on through and hold on that corner, especially since Smashnez is on the Ultron, so that nanotech is be able to come on through too. Terra Kid forces the Iron Man back, and out comes Welshmania, just allowing all business a free inroad into Zero Tenacity's entire team.
Oh, Smash is laying down the damage, but all business have disappeared. They just faded into the night to get away from the incoming damage on the other side. Here comes the Sonic Seduction. And while it is going to be fairly easily dodged away from by the side of Zero Tenacity, we have to give up a huge amount of space in order to try and survive this one unscathed. And then we have to siege in 2-2-2 and a Punisher who's going to make this very difficult. 2-2 just falls down. Oh, Knuten through the invisible boundary. Sloppo just manages to throw out all of the damage. Out comes the Nano Beam for a huge amount of healing. But when you meet huge amounts of healing, come in with huge amounts of damage. Lugia on the other side with the Eye of Agamotto stuns up all of the friends of Sloppo, and he stands alone with 2 miniguns. And while he is going to let his friends do the talking, we only know one really loud word, and all business, they're going to see that one blocked.
2Z is going to have the Supernova, but Ducky1 can shut it down with the Psionic Seduction. Just targeting out that torch. Zero Tenacity are also going to be able to move up, finally taking the space that they were denied because of that teleport recontest, trying to keep up the pressure onto all business. 2 is actually going to swap over to the Strange so that they can try and portal past this and just get right back out if they so choose, as they still have to deal with all of the individual angles that Zero Tenacity controls. There's the Psionic Seduction trying to find the connection onto 2Z, and it's going to lead into the Rage of Ultron, and Zero Tenacity are finding all of the picks. All business hold on to their ultimates, but don't gain any further ground.
Oh, the lack of damage drop-off from Knuten as well with his long-range repulsor blast also mean that you can try and clear up those disengages and find those final hits, as we saw happen in the SNOS there.
It's going to be potentially that one-shot capability, interrupting and dispatching closer even through this invis boundary. All business also taking a lot of entry damage as they don't have a strategist ultimate. Half the way. It's going to be Terra Cape yet again to try and pull Zero Tenacity back, but Knuten holds his will. The armor overdrive is still in play, and it's actually 2Z with the Supernova that comes through instead, but Knuten was waiting for it. Xenos in the midst of the Eternal Bond dashes directly into the one-shot.
Light Force and Dark Force can't stand up to the power of nuclear physics, baby, and Knuten manages to put it directly where it needs to be. Slowed down on the disengage, leaving that invisible boundary. He's actually going to leave Ducky alone here on the Emma, but there's plenty of sustainability still available from Oasis. Coming through, Diamond Fist, more than enough to try and deal with this. Nice dodge! Oh, the Aegis goes crazy right there to avoid the Eye of Agamotto coming in from the other side. Meanwhile, cheeky TP from Lugia, proving himself the GOAT, manages to set it up for Smashnez to use the Rage of Ultron to find all the final hits you need, and a few more too.
The airdrop of the Ultron in the backline to use the Rage of Ultron and damage enemies and heal allies alike was huge from Zero Tenacity. All business are off of the torch, they're onto the Hela. Tuzi is trying to utilize the hit scan and put those knives into the heads of either Smashnes or Knuten, but it's easier said than done since the Hela doesn't have the space. No angle has been developed. All business have to make a play for right side instead, but that sets them directly into the path of psionic seduction.
Oh, it's risky. They might lose 2-2. Oh, the invincible pulse cannon! Oh, he's earned himself the title of the invincible man. Unreal, Knuten. Oh, he's given it some. He's certainly given it some. It's beyond words. It's beyond comprehension. And it's beyond all business as they get stymied on second.
What a play. Psionic Seduction just traps them in the corner, and then the AoE capabilities of the Pulse Cannon just catches all of them.
Whew.
All of them. 4 in the blink of an eye. It's essentially Thanos in Marvel Rivals deciding to snap his fingers, and instead of 3 players from the business being removed, it's 4. And Zero Tenacity have now the means of removing all business from the upper bracket. They just need to be able to push through. 1.5 points of Yggdrasil path. The map that all business themselves took us to.
2 ults in a row, by the way. Knuten shuts down an enemy ultimate that could have been fight-changing. Grabbing a cloak and dagger out of the Eternal Bond, shutting down Sloppo during the final judgment, which could have been ruinous for a Zero Tenacity who pushed up so far to get value from their Sonic Seduction.
Yeah. Zero Tenacity are going to be flying out, it appears, with the Iron Man, with the Ultron. This Penny is not going to be sticking around. It's just so everyone can start armoring up, packing their lunches, making sure that they have somewhat of a larger health pool. As engineering flyers out of an attacker's spawn into space that all business are going to be able to control is much harder in terms of that defense. These flyers might be hitting a little bit of turbulence as air control is firmly in the favor of Tuzi and Sloppo right now.
Oh yeah, that spam onto Knuten certainly going to be something. So instead it's going to fly low in a phalanx with their Vanguard, just relying on the shielding to lay down unimaginable damage into the Vanguards with the armor overdrive. Still, while you're laid vulnerable by the Terror Cape, just a little bit of a bust from the Dark Maelstrom is too much to bear.
And off of the back of that, all business are going to get a little bit aggressive. However, they're going to make sure they don't go too aggressive as Welshmania almost pays for their hubris. The force physics could have been huge to open up that fight. Zero Tenacity's players are so much closer to the respawns than all business are. So these trades are going to go in the attacker's favor. Tuzi with the Pyro Prison is going to try and shut down Zero Tenacity's approach around this corner, especially off of the back of these Terror Capes set up from Znos, who's already got Eternal Bond, and they're going to use it to try and live the Rage of Ultron coming on out. Tuzi emboldened, gets 1, gets 2, and Zero Tenacity, air control, we have a problem.
Oh, that was a perfect response from all business as well. Zero Tenacity were trying to use the Rage of Ultron to bait out the Eternal Bond and then frag it instantly with the Invincible Pulse Cannon, but Knuten gets shot down during their channel of the ultimate, so it doesn't get delivered.
Oasis is going to have the Eternal Bond. Viney as well, going to be still sitting on that Invis boundary. You have to be careful by 2, though, that Eye of Agamotto with the Maelstrom can still find the damage to blitz through the defensives. As Tuzi with the Supernova is something that Zero Tenacity have to try and dispatch with. This torch has been a point of pressure that they haven't been able to bypass, and it's Eternal Bond early.
Here comes the Eternal Bond. Plenty to answer it right here. All business. They have 4 Qs playing right now. And Lugia gets nothing off the Eye of Agamotto. Same to be said here for 2-2. Nobody stunned, no souls separated from bodies. But certainly corporeality is a challenge right now for Lugia. As the remainder of all business try and turn him into a fine mist where a Doctor Strange once stood. And they're able to convert upon their wishes.
This is dangerous for Zero Tenacity. All business burnt so many of their ultimates in that fight, but Zero Tenacity did not lose it gracefully. They got staggered out. And because the fight lasted as long as it did, Znos has got another Eternal Bond to be able to match wits with Smashnes. However, what's likely to happen is Knuten is going to be utilizing this Pulse Cannon to see if they can bait the Eternal Bond with the Rage of Ultron and then look for the one-shot to shut it down once more.
That's going to be the plan. The question is, can Knuten survive it? You need the Imperative Firewall to give over that additional HP, but you can't channel it so easily. during the Rage of Ultron, where you're fully focused in on doing that damage and doing the healing. 2-2 taken out early. Oh, Smashes taken out midway through the Rage of Ultron. Tuzi's having himself an absolute barn burner right now. It's banger after banger from Tuzi. One of the best albums I've ever seen.
Yeah, Tuzi just getting to come through in that backline. Everyone from Zero Tenacity so focused on trying to shut down the Eternal Bond. We did have that exchange, but no one was looking at the torch. And Zero Tenacity have yet to be able to break through. We're starting to see why the opening pick, why a specific composition is engineered at the beginning of this round from the attacker's side to unseat the defense from this exact angle. Holders Knuten comes at it from a different angle. It's going to be the left side wraparound, putting out the pressure onto Tuzi, who's already forced into using that team up to survive.
Tuzi is a fat disengage to begin with, and inside the invisible boundary, you don't know where all the damage is going to be coming from. You need to use physical cover, but where are those bullets emerging from? Whence? Zero Tenacity, they are just sent anywhere that they can for cover right now. They're all in a corner, and it's time for All Business to try and crunch in on this one. The Sonic Seduction blocked out by many shields, but in the air, Smashnez has no choice but to go towards the pretty lady. Up goes the invisible boundary. It's enough sustainability for now. Tuzi falling low. Ducky wants to try and turn it around. Grabbed up on multiple members. Maybe you can get close out here. It would be everything. Snost falls down as well, and chasing down the Punisher elsewhere. 2-2 has managed to stun out their competition in Lugia, and they're not going to be able to portal back very quickly as Lugia's already used their own, and 2-2 was the last to fall.
All Business tried to prioritize taking out the strategists from Zero Tenacity, but Ducky 1 still had that Psionic Seduction, and Lugia on this range, even without a vein of strategists to keep him up, had the damage on that Strange. Alike to Hatulus with the changes to Maelstrom that have been made in the last patch. So Tenacity finally break through A, but they do not have a lot of time. They still have to get through a majority of B, and they do have the Eye of Agamotto, but All Business still have that room. Tuzi on the off angle is going to be looking for an in into that back line. He's setting up the Pyro Prison to cut the team, and it forces the Eternal Bond, which in turn forces the Final Judgment.
Eternal Bonds exchange damage here onto 2-2 is going to be immense, but Terracate makes them so vulnerable. Trying to track Tuzi on the disengage. You want to get rid of the enemy carry as quickly as possible, and knows that he doesn't have all that speed that's previously been so useful to evade the attentions of Knuten on this Punisher. Instead disengages, uses the speed of the car to try and array all of this pressure. And now it's time for Slobber to come back in. He's got his own Final Judgment. The shields they've been carved on through, trying to use the shield itself. Smashnez wins out in the damage war, and while Welshmania might be trying to get through with the Sonic Seduction, at this point it might be Sonic Cope. They're just getting overwhelmed when it comes to the damage inside the invisible boundary. Tuzi's slowed on the disengage. Out comes the Eye of Agamotto's Nost's soul is absolutely discorporated in this case, and Zero Tenacity, despite their struggles, will take out All Business on Yggdrasil Path.
The most important pick of that entire map is onto Closer.
Yeah.
Because when Slowpoke tries to go for the Final Judgment, Closer goes down at the same time. So they can't sync Final Judgment with Invis Boundary, and he gets taken down to the firepower coming on through from Rage of Ultron on the side of Zero Tenacity. Closer does manage to come back in, utilize that Invis Boundary, but it's a little bit too late. It's out of sync. All Business are lacking the damage to play off of the back of it. Zero Tenacity have the Eye of Agamotto to be able to catch players on the outsides of it. And we go from what was